Hello everyone, this is Erik, the Asian movie enthusiast, and this is my review of Bedevilled, a Korean horror film from 2010. Hae-won is a middle-rank officer working in a Seoul bank. A stern, tense, single woman, she is brought down by work-related stress and her hyper-competitive environment. Desperate for a change of pace, she takes up an offer from a long-forgotten friend to take a vacation in Mudo, a desolate southern island where she spent her childhood. Arriving at the island, she observes that life on the undeveloped, socially regressive island is hard, and her friend is treated as little more than a slave by her abusive husband, his brother, and the local old women. So yeah, Bedevilled is a pretty solid film from start to finish, I think, with two main characters who each have their own dilemmas. Now, in regard to this Hae-won character, she has no sympathy at all for other people. And this is expressed early on with a fairly rude interaction with an old woman who comes into her bank and is asking for help on her bank loan, which she's having difficulty paying off. And as it turns out, one of the other bank tellers does help the woman, and our protagonist berates that teller for doing so. And you're just sitting there like, wow, lady, you're that offended by helping other people out? But thankfully, her icy personality opens up a little bit when she meets her friend again on the island, which does add some softness to her during the middle section. But this Hae-won character is pretty intriguing, though, because her inaction and just refusal to come to anyone's aid, even in desperate times of need, provides a core theme for the film. And the opening scene sets the tone, with two men harassing a woman in public, but no one decides to help her, so including our main character. And the cops eventually show up, and Hae-won has an opportunity to testify in the woman's defense as a witness, but she refuses to do so because I don't want to get involved, you know what I mean? So that's, like I said, it's the main theme of the movie, and it's very effectively developed, and the final scene of the film really drives it home. So, on the other hand, you have the characterization of the villagers, which is very simplistic. And these people are very heartless and borderline sociopathic. They have no nuance, really. But they will make your blood boil, and they do serve to enhance the main characters and themes. Now, this bank woman's friend who lives on the island, she's having a rough time at it as well. And there's some character turns with her that are pretty interesting, down the stretch. But yeah, that's more of a spoiler. So I won't go into details. Now, one unique aspect is how the viewer will be compelled to actually root for the murderer when they are introduced into the story. And looking back at 2010 in Asian horror, it was a bit of a trend from that particular year with a handful of movies that effectively placed the viewer into the shoes of the killer. The Hong Kong movie Dream Home being another example of this. So I found that pretty interesting. The lead actress is Young-hee, who I am only moderately familiar with. Bedevilled is probably the most notable film that I've seen her in, but she's good here, portraying an emotionally distant character. Most viewers would be more familiar with Young-hee, who played a key role in The Chaser just a few years before this one. And she's also been in a bunch of K-dramas. Of notable interest is that Seong-woo has a supporting role, and he plays one of the slimiest characters of his career for sure, but it's always nice to see that guy. So the cast is good as well. Now, in terms of the horror, Bedevilled has a slow burn sense of dread during much of the opening half, but once the crap hits the fan, this contributes more gritty, bloody scares later on. And the latter half is where it gets more visceral. It does get more visceral, and I should warn you of that. And those scenes are pretty impactful, okay? We get some good kills, and I like the weapon of choice that the murderer uses. So, yeah, Bedevilled is another just good recommendation. If you want something that's a little bit more gritty, and a nice contrast to maybe the supernatural type stuff that you might be familiar with. But yeah, I recommend this definitely. This is, let me double check availability right now. It's available streaming on Amazon, and it's also available on physical media. And as always, folks, I'll see you next time.